Um, okay, hello everybody. I'm here on behalf of a talented group of students that they're back in Bartlett and they're working hard for their external examination. They're very thankful about the prize you gave them for the second position. It's becoming again more like an Oscar, but now have to do the acting as well. Normally, just picking up prizes. Okay, their project is a device of territorial scale. Does not seek merely to avert the erosion of Tallinn's coastline, but more importantly is aiming to deal with local processes for the possibility of alternative scenarios to be constructed. In that sense, they exploit tide waves and salt crystallization processes on a territorial computed and constructed substratum in order to multiply metabolic processes and therefore to tap on the new affordances for local vegetation, birds migration, marine species, a whole non-human world that opens up before us. So a detailed study using remote sensing technology from satellite allows them to map and diagram the salinity and the transformation of salinity and transformation of the coastline through erosion in the area. A computationally analyzed imagery allow them to quantify this kind of salinity into specific places where seeds will be strategically placed for their structure to grow. They study this kind of erosion through simulations and through computational systems that can abstract, and therefore they're becoming almost like a suggestive speculative meta-models for the project to come. Very systematically, they try to explore the salinity and the crystallization of the area by making detailed apparatuses in order to understand the behavior of the crystal growth. In order to do this, they devised little substratums, like an L system, that then by changing parameters, they could actually understand the density of the salt growth. Their kind of experimentation concluded that it is between the surface and the shallow part of the sea, which actually is the tidal fluctuation, where the most amount of salt crystallization take place. So they exploited that kind of capacity of the material system in order to start speculative thinking how this can become a mechanism for averting erosion. Of course, the crystallization doesn't only happen on the substratum that they're planning to kind of create, but actually they see that this can expand within the surface of water. In their own words, can we have some sound here?
And the agent of sensing algorithm. One of them is the L system can generate the substratum with the morphological process in composed spatial organization. In addition, it is clear to see that the growth of substratum via increasing the parameter of generation. On the other hand, our project is mainly focused on the crystallization so that the algorithm of diffusion limited aggregation is one agent in our material system. Specifically, there is a recognizable pattern of the digital crystallization by simulation of the DLA system. In the micro scale, the pattern of the growth of crystals is driven by the crystals itself, whereas the global pattern of the crystallization is driven by the substratum system. The process of digital crystallization is not only growing the crystals on the substratum, but also decreasing the crystals during the raining season.
Having concurred already the performance and the behavior of the crystal growth, the next kind of, as you have kind of has been anticipated by the video, is the study of this kind of global pattern based on a growth system, on a DLA simulation and algorithm. This is becoming almost not a simulation of the crystal growth, but actually a diagram through which new kind of intensities of salinity and crystal growth will be distributed on the side. You have already listened that they try to create this kind of dialogue between the environmental forces and the distribution of this kind of overall kind of global pattern on the side. So the kind of put that kind of substratum and the simulation with this kind of dynamic environment where local information kind of directs the growth, directs the scale, directs the possible affordances for new kind of activities to take place. And it is precisely this kind of forces that seasonally they can change the overall pattern of the project.
And next to time-lapse of physical experiments, the morphological connection between the field of saline terrain and crystallization on the substratum is clear to be seen.
This is where the two kind of systems come together, and they be tested and understanding the directions that the behavior of these kind of two interacting entities, or as they call it, two these interacting agents, can take the project. Of course, this is becoming through a feedback understanding between material systems and computational simulation. Here, none of them takes a lead, but it's constructed, it creates a constructive kind of dialogue in a very kind of speculative manner. To then detailed observation of this kind of local spatial formation, they're trying to understand how this new kind of structure can open and can host a whole non-human world that ranks from salt crystallizations, new marine species, or bird migratory patterns. The overall, therefore, study is almost kind of encapsulated within this kind of 6 steps. That starts with an observation from the satellite point of view up to the local micro-scale interactions of material systems that can actually grow within a global pattern of a substratum that then takes information from a local environment to create an overall spatial organization that is being kind of applied within a territorial scale of the peninsula. The fabrication and the construction of all this project is becoming with advanced technology using drones and robotic mechanisms in order to assemble the substratum, this kind of DLA 3D structure of the overall pattern. But at the same time, the salt doesn't be there to become the barrier, if you want, for the erosion, but actually becomes the first material for a catalytic cell that produces energy and produces electricity on the structure. So the coastline protection is not giving, the project doesn't give a straight solution to an existing problem, but actually goes and re-problematizes the problem, rethinks the problem, and therefore opens up to different scales, to different points of view. And this is where the polycephalum is becoming like an operative concept for them.
It is significant to manipulate the crystallization so that we created the branching system manually to understand the property of crystals. In order to produce the substratum for the experiment, by means of the L system, the substratum can be produced accurately as the control groups of the physical experiments. There are some significant parameters will affect the morphogenesis of the crystallization, such as angle, the length of the substratum, the generation, and so on. In addition, We observe the correlation between the parameters of the substratum and the pattern of the crystallization by systematically altering agents' behavior in the L system. There are three agents in the material system, such as the agent of the L system, the agent of the crystallization, and the agent of sensing algorithm. One of them is the L system can generate the substratum with the morphological process in composed spatial organization. In addition, it is clear to see that the growth of substratum via increasing the parameter of generation. On the other hand, our project is mainly focused on the crystallization, so that the algorithm of diffusion limited aggregation is one agent in our material system. Specifically, there is a recognizable pattern of the digital crystallization by simulation of the DLA system. In the micro scale, the pattern of the growth of crystals is driven by the crystals itself, whereas the global pattern of the crystallization is driven by the substratum system. The process of digital crystallization is not only growing the crystals on the substratum, but also decreasing the crystals during the raining season. As for the substratum system, it consisted of 6 types of components, such as 2 kinds of bird nests, catalytic cells in the cells of bird watching. Furthermore, saline water is one indispensable material for the catalytic cells. It could generate the electricity for the people who live in the informal settlements. In next 2 time-lapse of physical experiments, the morphological connection between the field of saline terrain and crystallization on the substratum is clear to be seen.